Every single week, British citizens are being told the same devastating words. Your spouse visa application has been refused. Not because they don't earn enough, not because their marriage isn't genuine, not because they failed the English test, but because of paperwork. A missing page on a bank statement, a pay slip that doesn't align perfectly with a deposit date, an employer letter missing one required sentence. And just like that, families are separated for months. Thousands of pounds are lost in application fees. Emotional stress skyrockets. Plans collapse. If you think meeting the £29,000 income threshold is enough to secure a UK spouse visa in 2026, you need to watch this carefully. Welcome back to GoUKGo. If this is your first time here, this channel breaks down complex UK immigration rules into clear, practical guidance that protects you from costly mistakes. And today, we are talking about the real reason spouse visa applications are being refused in 2026. Let's get something straight immediately. The issue right now isn't just the £29,000 minimum income requirement. The real issue is evidence. Because immigration caseworkers don't approve applications based on what you mean to show. They approve them based on what your documents prove, line by line, page by page, date by date. And if even one technical requirement isn't met, the refusal letter follows. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what the £29,000 rule means, who it applies to, when the old £18,600 threshold still matters, the three main income routes people use, where most applications go wrong, and the mindset you must adopt if you want your application approved. If you're a British citizen with a partner overseas or currently on a spouse visa, take a second right now and like this video. It helps this information reach more families who genuinely need it. Now let's begin with what is actually enforced today, because there's a lot of confusion online. As of 2026, the minimum income requirement for new spouse visa applications is £29,000 per year. That applies if you are applying from outside the UK for the first time. You are switching into the spouse route from inside the UK. Previously, the threshold was £18,600. The government announced phased increases. There were discussions about raising it to £34,000 and eventually £38,700. But those further increases were paused after the change in government. So as things stand right now, £29,000 is the confirmed minimum for new applications. No speculation, no political debate. That is the rule caseworkers are applying today. However, and this is where many people get confused, transitional protections exist. If you are already in the UK on a spouse visa that was granted under the old £18,600 threshold, and you are applying for an extension, you may still qualify under £18,600 instead of £29,000. But this depends on when you first entered the partner route and which version of the immigration rules applied to you at that time. And this is critical. Immigration rule changes do not automatically apply to everyone. New thresholds apply to new applicants. Existing applicants may have protection. If you prepare evidence for £29,000 when you only needed £18,600, you've created unnecessary stress. If you prepare evidence for £18,600 when you actually need £29,000, your application will be refused. Step 1 is always confirming which threshold applies to you. Now here's the reality immigration solicitors are seeing in 2026. Most refusals are not happening because couples fail to meet the income threshold. They are happening because the evidence is incomplete, inconsistent, or assembled incorrectly. There are three main financial routes under the spouse visa rules: employment income, self-employment income, cash savings. Each route has strict evidential requirements, not suggestions, requirements. Let's start with employment income because this is the most common and the most mishandled. If you or your partner are employed by a company and receiving a salary, you must provide the correct number of payslips covering the required period, bank statements showing those exact salary deposits, an employer letter confirming employment details. That sounds simple, but here's where it falls apart. Couples submit 5 payslips when 6 are required. They provide bank statements that show the deposit, but the final page of the statement is missing. The employer letter confirms employment, but doesn't clearly state whether the role is permanent or fixed term. The salary on the employer letter says £29,100, but the payslips reflect slightly different monthly figures due to overtime or deductions, and no explanation is provided. Caseworkers are not allowed to assume. They are not allowed to fill in the gaps. They follow a checklist. If your payslip says you were paid on the 15th, but the deposit shows in your bank on the 16th, that discrepancy will be noticed. If there's a reasonable explanation, like the 15th falling on a Sunday, that explanation should be clearly stated in a covering letter. Never assume they'll figure it out. Caseworkers are not reviewing your life story. They are verifying evidence against rules. Now let's move to self-employment income. This is significantly more complex. If you are self-employed, a contractor, freelancer, or running your own limited company, the evidence requirements become much heavier. Typically, you will need tax returns for the relevant financial year, HMRC documentation confirming declared income, business accounts if you operate through a company, proof that income has actually been received. Here's where applications fail. Applicants submit documents from the wrong financial year. They show projected income instead of income already declared and earned. Their tax return shows one figure, but their company accounts show another. They mix personal and business finances in a way that makes it unclear how much income they personally receive. Immigration rules require income to be real, sustainable, and already declared. Future contracts don't count. Estimated earnings don't count. Money that hasn't been paid to you doesn't count. And if figures don't match across documents, that inconsistency creates risk. Now let's talk about cash savings, the third route. Savings can be used on their own or to top up income to reach the £29,000 threshold. The formula is specific. It's not guesswork. There is a base savings requirement plus an additional amount depending on your income shortfall. But here's the key issue with savings applications. It's not usually the amount that causes refusal. It's the evidence trail. You must show that the required savings have been held for the required period, typically 6 months. The account must be in your name, your partner's name, or a joint account. If there are large deposits appearing suddenly during that period, you must clearly explain the source, because unexplained large deposits trigger suspicion, even if the money is legitimate. Caseworkers need to see where it came from. Inheritance, property sale, gift, long-term savings, and they need documentation supporting that origin. Incomplete statements, missing months, missing pages, statements not covering the full required period. These are technical errors, but they cause real refusals. Immigration solicitors now advise couples to treat financial evidence like an audit file. Every document must support the next. Dates must align, amounts must match, figures must be consistent across all documents. If there is even a small inconsistency, explain it proactively in a covering letter. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Caseworkers assess applications mechanically. They are not looking to refuse you, but they are not allowed to overlook missing evidence. A bank statement missing its final page may feel like a minor oversight, but to a caseworker, that missing page means they cannot confirm the closing balance. If they cannot confirm the closing balance, they cannot confirm you meet the requirement. If they cannot confirm you meet the requirement, the application fails. Your intention doesn't matter. Only the evidence matters. Now let's briefly address the political frustration around the £29,000 threshold. There has been significant media coverage questioning whether the threshold disproportionately impacts families in lower-income regions, single-income households, and families with children. These concerns are valid and widely debated, but debate does not change the rule being applied today. Waiting for potential changes means continued separation with no guarantee the rules will change in your favor. The practical approach is to prepare under the current rules. Confirm your threshold. Build your evidence carefully. Consider a professional review before submission. Let me summarize what truly matters. The minimum income requirement for new spouse visa applications in 2026 is £29,000. Some extensions may still qualify under £18,600 due to transitional protection. There are 3 primary financial routes: employment, self-employment, and cash savings. Most refusals are not due to insufficient income. They are due to incomplete, inconsistent, or improperly prepared evidence. Caseworkers cannot assume. They cannot fix your mistakes. They cannot overlook missing documents. The spouse visa is one of the most emotionally charged areas of UK immigration law because it directly affects a British citizen's ability to live in their own country with their partner. The political headlines focus on income thresholds, but in practice, it's documentation errors that separate families. So here's what you should do. Start gathering documents months in advance. Check every bank statement for completeness. Ensure payslips match deposits exactly. Confirm your employer letter includes all required information. Align dates and figures across every document. If something doesn't match perfectly, explain it clearly. Treat your financial evidence like an audit file, because in reality, that's exactly what it is. If this breakdown has clarified things for you, make sure you like this video so more British citizens find it before submitting their applications. Subscribe to GoUKGo because immigration rules change, and being informed is protection. Drop a comment below. Are you currently going through the spouse visa process? What part has been the most stressful or confusing for you? And share this video with anyone you know who has a partner overseas or is preparing a spouse visa application. One missing document shouldn't be the reason a family stays apart. In the next video here on GoUKGo, we'll be discussing the latest updates on ILR and what potential rule adjustments could mean for those already on the settlement path. Until then, remember this. Meeting the income requirement is step one. Proving it correctly is everything.